History has a way of turning screams into silence. It polishes cruelty until it looks like legend. It replaces broken lives with dramatic symbols, and when it does, the people who suffered most quietly, publicly, relentlessly are erased first. When you hear the name Vlad the Impaler, you're taught to think about power, fear, and spectacle. You are not taught to think about the women. That omission was never accidental. This story is not about a mythical vampire or a cinematic villain draped in shadows and romance. It is about a ruler who understood something deeply unsettling about human societies, that control is most effective when it is visible, intimate, and impossible to ignore. Vlad III of Wallachia ruled a fragile land surrounded by enemies, betrayal, and instability. But the methods he used to hold power were not random acts of cruelty born of chaos. They were calculated, they were symbolic, and again, they were directed at women. Not because women held armies, not because they commanded courts, but because they were the emotional core of families, memory, and continuity. Break them, and you break everything that comes after. This is not a story of gore. It is a story of strategy, fear, and a deliberate use of human suffering as a political language. The roots of a method. Vlad's understanding of terror did not begin when he became a ruler. It began when he was a child. For years, Vlad lived as a political hostage within the Ottoman Empire. He watched how authority was enforced, how punishment was public, how fear was not an accident, but a tool carefully shaped, intentionally displayed. In that environment, violence was never just violence, it was instruction. When Vlad returned to Wallachia, his family had been destroyed by betrayal. His father was dead. His older brother had been eliminated in ways meant to humiliate as much as eliminate. The boy who left as a hostage returned as a man convinced that mercy was weakness and privacy was inefficiency. From that moment on, Vlad ruled with one principle: power must be seen. Easter, 1457, the first message on Easter Sunday. The noble families of Wallachia gathered for what they believed was a celebration. The atmosphere was formal, ceremonial, almost relaxed. No one expects reckoning during a feast. That was the point. Vlad addressed the assembled nobles with a single question: how many rulers they had lived under. The answers revealed the truth. Vlad already knew loyalty in Wallachia was temporary, conditional, transactional. The consequences were immediate and public. The older noblemen, those associated with repeated betrayals, were removed permanently. Their families were not spared grief, but they were spared death instead. The women and younger members of these families were marched north, not as prisoners of war, not as criminals, but as instruments. At the ruins of Poenari fortress, Vlad assigned them labor no one had chosen and few survived. The work was not symbolic punishment. It was erasure of status. Titles meant nothing on that mountain. Lineage meant nothing. Silk meant nothing. What mattered was endurance, and endurance was deliberately pushed beyond its limit. Those who survived did not return to their former lives. They remained reminders, living evidence of what happened to families who crossed the ruler. Poenari Castle still stands today. Tourists climb its steps without knowing whose hands placed those stones. Why women? This is the question history often avoids. Vlad did not punish women because he misunderstood power. He punished women because he understood it too well. Women were not just family members. They were witnesses. They were memory keepers. They were the emotional anchors of households and communities. Publicly punishing men sent a warning. Publicly destroying women sent a trauma that echoed across generations. Fear spreads fastest through those who nurture life, threaten them, and fear becomes intimate. This was not cruelty as impulse. This was cruelty as policy, daily life, under watchful power. For ordinary women, survival meant vigilance, not heroism, not rebellion, invisibility. Behavior was scrutinized. Domestic order became a political obligation. A household's appearance reflected loyalty or defiance. Women were held responsible not only for their own conduct, but for the public presentation of their families. Small failures were treated as moral corruption. Private mistakes became public lessons.